Hi, good afternoon. It's Sunday, noonish, something like that. And I know I haven't been on here for a bit, but I had a little intermission where I had to take care of an order from the appellate court, and I'll go over that later. I spent time, I'm not having a good technology day today to try and, I typed up some docs. I was gonna do it in a PowerPoint, but I just don't know how to import things on here and all of that. I'm learning. I'll be lucky if I got my thumbnail right. Who knows? This is all new to me. I know other stuff, but tech wise, but this whole YouTube streaming, creating videos and content and everything. I'm just not really familiar with that. So I'm just gonna have to read from my little script what I want to talk today. And what I want to talk today, and back to for a quick minute, back to my little order from the appellate court on my 1983. I will talk about that. Once I can really get documents up here and load them and walk through them, I will talk more about my all of my legal cases. Um, they're just all crazy. But I will talk about them and the corruption. And what brings me on to the corruption is, and I don't know if a lot of families know about this. There are specialized lawyers who handle this. Do they want to take on DCF? That's a good question. Really is a good question. But what I want to talk about today, which has to do with DCF fraud, which we all know that they are so enmeshed in fraud, and so are the courts. Oh gosh. Oh, there was a content creator. I can't remember what she calls what uh something capture. I don't know, something like funding capture or claiming capture. I don't know. I don't remember what she called it, but it's a term she deems it what the judges do when they back up DCF. And I'm going to tell you, it's not just the trial courts, the appellate courts, and not just state, federal too. They all will side with DCF. Yeah, sure, they'll throw a little bone here and there, and they will fine for parents or grandparents from time to time. But if you're public enemy number one, no. If you're a fighter, you're a warrior for your children and grandchildren, they're not going to really help you out because just the more you're in court, the more you wrangle money for the state. And in the end, as taxpayers, not the 1%, we pay for all of these to go through the court. We pay the judges, we pay the lawyers, we pay all the DCF workers, we pay everyone. And they're not in the public's interest. And, there's one thing that the FBI is supposed to handle, and that is public interest, violations against the public interest overall. And they're not doing anything. If they did like just a scintilla of investigations in this, they would see the fraud and they would do something about it, but they don't. And we as a people are just saying, thank you, sir, may I have another violation of my rights? Why are we doing that? Why as a society are we saying, okay, I'm just going to go back under my rock and not do anything? Like, these are our freaking children that we never see again. Granted, my grandchildren were not my children, but I helped raise them and loved them like they were my children. And I'll never stop fighting for people's children. My grandchildren were adopted out. I have my oldest languishing in a group home for I don't even know how many years because they're so deceptive and they're so secretive. But I am going pro se right now until I have my law degree. And I'm licensed to fight this because this will be one set of cases I will be taking if we can find where the fraud, connect the dots. We have actions now. So this is what I'm going to read off, which is that I typed up with my research and everything. And I also have some experience because I threw this in my 1983 case. Didn't work because I'll tell you why as I read through it. But, anyways, it's spelled Quitam and it's pronounced different ways, just like other Latin legal terms and so forth, or pronounced however you figure. Like the other day, when I was talking about a writ of mandamus, is it mandamus, whatever. I'm not exactly sure. And I think that, people pronounce it how they want. Anyways, I've seen different clips. Some people pronounce it Qui Tam, which is how I pronounce it, or Qui Tam, or Knee Tam. Like, it all rhymes with like C and ham. Okay. So what Qui Tam, and that's how I'm gonna call it. You guys can correct me if you think it's different. I don't care. That's fine. We all know what it is. What is a Qui Tam action? Okay. So what it is a whistleblower lawsuit that allows a private individual, you, me, anyone else, and they're known as a relator, to sue a person or company on behalf of the government. So, I'll get into this in a little bit, but you can't do it on a pro se basis. You have to have a lawyer. All right. So, what that means in the day of the king, we don't have king, but, or at least we don't legitimately have a king. We might have people who want to be king, but we don't. Okay. So, it's he who sues in this matter for the king as well as for himself. And it's generally filed under the False Claims Act, which I will discuss that statutes. And it's when an entity is defrauding the government, i.e., Medicaid, food stamps, etc. Well, we know that in any instance that a child is taken from the home, DCF and the foster parents, and then the adopted parents all qualify, not just for tax breaks, like amazing tax breaks, but they also qualify for Medicaid and food stamps. Uh, and also, DCF generally pulls from these funding sources and also from Title IVE of the Social Security Act. Okay, and what Title IVE is, for those who don't know, it's a federal program under the Social Security Act that reimburses state child welfare agencies, DCF, for costs associated with foster care, adoption, assistance, and preventative services. It is designed to ensure children's safety and support stable family placements, which can also be the natural parents and grandparents. All right, so it does adoption assistance, helps families afford the cost of adopting children with special needs by providing financial support. And how many children have been found special needs? I mean, children are going to have behavior problems because they were ripped from the only home they know. And a child will love their mother whether they were fit or not. Although a lot of children are taken from slight neglect that could be resolved with some training, some minimal training, minimal cost. But that's not the purpose of DCF. DCF is to milk taxpayers. Okay, another thing is it's for foster care payments. Pays for basic needs like food, clothing, housing, daily caring for children living in foster care. Now, let's just not play this foster parent that comes in and says, "Oh, I maybe make $1 or $2 an hour from my foster care payments for the 27 care I do." The 27 24/7 care you do? You mean when they're at school or when they're sleeping 8, 9, 10 hours a day? Okay. But let's not play games here. How many have seen a foster care parent that has just one kid? Whether they're siblings or not. They either have the whole sibling group or um they have numerous kids. And hold on one second. I'm just gonna pause this for 1 second. So I think I'm back on. Sorry. Um. Okay. Like for instance, the woman that adopted my for grandchildren, she got rid of one of them because I guess he was just too hard. And this is one of the easiest kids I ever knew in my entire life. Now I raised two bipolar children, and I raised the children with Tourette's and whatnot. But he was like just one of the easiest children like I ever knew. I mean, he was just such the sweetest child. If he's having behavioral problems, it's probably because of the violent monster who son admitted that she and her boyfriend or her stepfather, something like that, used to beat him when he was a child with ping pong paddles until they broke on him. So, that's the house he went to. And that's also the house that went back in 2017, I believe it was 2017, he cried to me and Jennifer Smith, the case manager from funny, from the same name of the same agency that Joe Jatan used to steal and kill children in, called the Children's Home Society. Why would you name a nonprofit agency after the same society that has such a black mark on it? But she's a mandated reporter, and she knew that my grandson was being beaten by that monster. He was bawling his eyes out because he knew he was going to get home, get a beating, because he lost some math flashcards between the transportation from seeing his mother and then seeing me and my husband, his grandparents, and she didn't file a report. She just went and talked to her. That's not how that works. If a kid is bawling his eyes out that he lost math flashcards during the summer, mind you, it was during the summer. And I'm not saying children don't need to learn in the summer and everything like that, but to such an extent that he was like spent the whole a 1 hour visit just crying to me, please don't let me go home and get a beating. I was literally bawling my eyes out, called the hotline and said, this is what he told me. And she never filed a report. She went and talked to her. And then they all covered it up because that's what they do. They all cover up abuse. That's what they do. I read all these cases on Facebook about parents saying, my child's telling me I'm being abused or I'm seeing signs of abuse, and they stay in that foster home and nothing is done until that child's murdered or so broken that they end up in a group home because no one can handle them. It's wonderful, isn't it? This is our society in 2026. This isn't 1726. This is 2026. And our society allows this. Just allows it. Allows the secrecy. It's ridiculous. Um, but eventually I got a nice letter from Florida, one of Florida's attorneys saying, if I call again, that's not in good faith. My grandson's begging me not to let him go back there, and I'm in a supervised visit, and I can't do a damn thing about it. We parents have to sit and watch and send our children to abusive foster homes and can't do a damn thing. The only thing we can do is call the hotline and pray that they do something, but they never do till it's too late, till that child is dead or so mentally abused that they end up in a group home because nobody can handle them. Okay. Oh, so back on that, I did find, once I found out the name, found out the people, it was really easy to find them out. I saw like Christmas pictures of the kids with Santa. I saw all my grandkids, so I know exactly that's who has them, and a bunch of other foster kids. And at one point, they were foster kids, and she's a part-time. Last time I heard, she's a part-time cop in like teeny little town in that area. But she had a whole like 6, 7 kids in her house, 3, 4 bed. Why are why is DCF allowing families that have a 3 or 4 bedroom house to have 6 or 7 children? So yeah, some of them can share rooms, but not all of them can share rooms. 3 bedroom house, you're gonna put 7 kids in 2 bedrooms? That's not fair. That's not, and that's, there are enough people who can like, I could take care of my grandchildren. Like I said, in some of my past, when my husband and I were trying to adopt my grandchildren back in 2017. We bought a house. We finally legally got married all in 2017. Early 2017, we bought a house. House was on 5 acres, 2,200 square feet. It had 4 physical bedrooms, and then it had an addition that was used for storage, laundry room, pantry, whatever. That could have easily been, without not a lot of money. A bathroom could have been put in there because it was attached to, on the other side of the exterior wall, was a shower system, a hot and cold water shower system, outdoor shower system. So we could have put in a full bathroom. We could have made 2 bedrooms out of it. It was quite a big um addition. It also had all the venting. We just had to add ductwork to add AC to it, which that wouldn't have been a problem to make more. But we had four, 4 bedrooms, 4 kids. So even if we made 6 bedrooms, almost all of them would have their own bedroom. And on 5 acres of land, it was a nice house, gorgeous house, but it's in a state that I absolutely hate, so I'm gonna try and sell it. All right. Then it's also for Kinship Guardianship Assistance Program, KGAP, provides support to caregivers like grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, etc. But we almost always know that, because generally, if we give you the kids, your relative, a close personal friend, we give you the kids, you're just gonna go off and things are gonna like this. No, they want adversity. Um, just like that federal judge found against that lawsuit against Trump and the IRS, releasing his things. Like, you have to have an adversary in court. And this is like what they want. They want an adversary in court. They want to milk as much money. Okay, well, I had to go into court today, blah, blah, blah. This is my hours. And the more time they spend in court, guess what? The less time they're spending with children, right? They're so overworked and underpaid, yet they have time to play these court games. And not only that, but they also have time to, like, go through your social media. Like, literally, my social media was gone through, and I will show the receipts one day on that. I'll talk about the social media. And they have time for that. They have time to pay paralegals, all of that, but they don't have time for, properly housing children, properly vetting foster parents. And they don't properly vet foster parents. No, no. Okay. In 1986, Congress amended the False Claims Act 31 USC Section 3729, publication, LLS. I don't need all that. But okay. So, one of Congress's objectives in modifying the act was to encourage the use of qui tam actions in which citizens are authorized to bring as private attorneys general. Now, you still have to have a lawyer. Even though it's a private person, you still have to have a lawyer. Uh, so these lawsuits on behalf of the United States alleging frauds upon the government. So when they're denying family that are all good, home studies are come back clean, uh your analysis comes back clean, criminal reports come back clean, children should be with who they know. Could you imagine being a little kid and you've got like something more psychotic than a wife swap? You know, even if you ever watch that show Wives Swaps, most of these people are like, I can't do this life, right? But you have this child just thrown in like like a lamb to a pack of wolves, and they're supposed to be like, oh, I'm just gonna love this life. No, my grandchildren were like, Nana, Papa, yeah, and let's not even joke about this. Like, I know I keep going on these little side tangents, but this is like ridiculousness, I have to tell you. Okay, so my husband makes pretty good money, and we had a pretty nice house. We had, I want to say at the time we had a seven-seater Jeep Commander. That's because we used to take our grandchildren everywhere. I even have pictures of my granddaughter in the Jeep Commander. So, um, yeah, so we had it at the time that we could take our we have room to take our grandkids everywhere. We had the funds, everything cleared, home studies, great. We had two home studies. One, like I said, DCF, and one was a private home study that cost us like $2,000 when all is said and done. So the woman who got them, which is the abusive mother, of the abusive stepfather of the two oldest. Well, no, they were never married, by the way. They were never married. Yet the paternal grandmother got all the rights, and the maternal grandmother. She had only seen these kids a few times. She really wanted nothing to do with them. And the two youngest that eventually ended up uh proven through paternity test was his. She Every time they were born, those two kids were born, she's like, they're not my sons. They're not my sons. And her son's a loser. Like, one day I'll show all of his criminal stuff. But her son is like a druggy loser. Uh so she really didn't know the kids. She's seen them a couple of times throughout growing up. She didn't know the two youngest babies because she didn't want to. She didn't want to. She knew her son was abusive. Every time my daughter moved to his town, his area, which was a few hours from us, the mother saw the abuse and never did much about it, but complained to me and tell me come get my grandkids, which I did every time. Every time she said my son's abusing the grandkids, come get them, and I did. And I told DCF, she didn't. DCF did nothing. Did nothing. I could. Eventually I'll show you the letter I sent them months before when she moved once again back to Bay County. I will show you the letter, and I also sent the letter not just to DCF. I sent the letter to the school system. The school called me and told me, "Well, he's not in our school yet, or the kids aren't in our school yet." She has had many bouts of cancer. She had just recently returned to work with her hair still falling out. And I'm not saying people with cancer can't have children, and that's not my point. My point is she was like insolvent. She had missed work for 7 months, and you're not just supposed to throw kids in any home. There also has to be a point that they can afford the children. Your goal isn't to, and I'm not saying that everyone can afford children. I'm not saying that you may have to get help. I'm not saying that. But foster care and the laws in the states generally say you have to be able to afford these children. You can't just, go by what we give you or by what uh federal fundings you can get. They really want people who can afford them. And I supported my grandchildren most of their life, whether their mother lived with us, and there were times that she gave us the kids to have for months on end. I mean, months on end. One time we had one of the children for well over a year. uh we covered all their costs except for medical, but we would have gladly, put them on our medical if we had the legal rights to do that. And you have to have certain legal rights to put children on, an employer-based medical plan. I also, because the grandmother I am, I had all kinds of clothes and toys and furniture for the kids. She had nothing. Plus, because her son's a piece of garbage. He had two kids from this woman, two kids from this woman, another kid from another woman, another kid from another. I mean, it just goes, I mean, just so I don't even know how many kids he had. But she took care of the first two kids because the mother was garbage. And she had them all the time. She had them at least 5 days a week. And they'll deny it, but I literally have text messages. I have these kids like Tuesday through Wednesday. I have these kids every weekend. You know what I mean? Like her telling me, because before she decided she wanted to procure the two younger ones for her garbage son, she was like, "Oh yeah, you should have the grandkids you raised," which was all my grandkids. But she wanted the two youngest. She wanted to give me the two oldest that were not biologically related to her and her son, and take the two that were, that she denied for many years. Well, for a few years. They were babies. She didn't go to visit in the hospital when the children were born. I did. I actually, the the firstborn girl, which is my daughter's third child, I was actually there. I was the birth coach when she was born, as well as the first two. For some reason, she chose for him to be there for the fourth. So I wasn't the birth coach for the baby. Um, but yeah, she didn't even go to the hospital to see the kids because they weren't her sons. This is the kind of garbage she is. But then all of a sudden she had to have them. DCF wanted her to take the kids because it was the same county. They could keep the court there. They could all get the money into them all together in the same county. They didn't want to transfer it to another county. They didn't want to go from Bay County to Columbia or Clay County, which is, it started, I lived in Clay County and then I moved to Columbia County. They didn't want to do that. So she was broke. She was insolvent. She was literally panhandling people to the community and stuff like that. I will also bring receipts. There's going to be a lot of things I'm going to have to go over and discuss, but I have receipts for everything. I have the people begging money. I have her saying, like, before she went like all psycho, "Oh, I'm going to keep them all." She said that when she said, "Can I have the two youngest?" I said, "No." I said, "DCF told me they want to keep the kids together and intact family. They grew up together in the same family with the same mother. So DCF wanted to keep them together." And when I said that, she's like, "Well, I'm just going to keep them all." and that's what DCF wanted. DCF jumped on that, and so she had a three-bed teeny, like 1,200 square foot house. Her two grandsons were staying in one room. Her and her husband were sleeping in separate rooms. So, from what I understand, per my grandson, and this was also in court, and I will bring those receipts. I will bring the testimony, transcripts of the testimony, where they said, this is what they said. um, the kids were, this is 2017, so almost 8, almost 7, no, almost 8, almost 6. Like, this is, no, 2016 was when they were taken. So they were like, let's just throw out numbers 7, 6, uh, you know, 2 and not even a year old, or 3 and not even a year old. I'd have to do the math. I just don't feel like right now. I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be talking about this, but there's just so many like craziness to this. But she shared a bedroom with my eldest granddaughter, which is not her biological relation, and that is not allowed by law. The other bedroom was her two grandsons that were their half siblings from another mother. Not sisters from another, not brothers from another mother. Yeah, brothers from another mother. Yeah, that is correct. Sorry. Yeah. The brothers from another mother shared a room. And then the husband, her new, fairly new husband, which is not biologically related to any of them, just kind of legally related, but not, because remember, he was not married to my daughter. And when they were first placed, there was no paternity done on the children. If the court is showing that there is, it's because they falsified documents, which Qui Tam action. All right, so we'll get back to that, but let me just finish up with this story. He shared a bedroom with the two babies, which are like 1 and 3, a girl, a 3-year-old girl, and a 1-year-old boy, almost 1-year-old boy. And, and this was like done in court like a whole another year and a half later, or no, 6 months. I'll have to look at it again. But he was still sharing a room with them, like a year later or something like that, a year and a half, something like that. It's all illegal, people. It's all illegal. Oh, and the eldest grandson, I believe, and we've seen pictures, and I believe he told us that he was sleeping on the couch, the living room. So yeah, I had a potential 6-bedroom home. She had a 3-bedroom home with 6 children. I had 0 children. I had my son living with me also living with his dad, and then they eventually, when the kids weren't coming, moved in and all that. But that's what it is. Okay. To this end, Congress increased the amount by which a relator could share in any money recovered, liberalized the circumstances under which a private citizen could bring a qui tam action, and increased the relator's role in such litigation. The relator must do the following to initiate a qui tam suit: file the civil complaint under seal with the court. The defendant is not served at this time. So you have to have it sealed in the court. So you send it to court, you have it sealed. Serve a copy of the complaint and a written disclosure of substantially all material evidence and information possessed by the relator on both the Attorney General and the United States Attorney, USA, pursuant to Federal R Civil Procedures 4 or Rule 4 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. So you have to have it sealed. They don't know about it because while it's sealed, the government gets to investigate. Okay. And I'm going to try and put these documents on my YouTube channel so you can see it because I do have like all of the websites that I verified as sources. So I did get these from like legal sources, like the Justice Department. Okay. So then the government must then decide whether to take over the case as its own. If it does not notify the court that it is taking over the case, it becomes the relator's to litigate through an attorney, though. The government has 60 days from the date service is completed and the statement of material evidence is submitted, whichever is late, to notify the court of its decision. Usually, the complaint and statement of evidence are served simultaneously on the USA, with service on the Attorney General occurring later. When confusion exists as to the tolling of the 60-day period, it is advisable to file a status report with the court, copied to the relator, advising it when the government's deadline expires and the complaint may be unsealed and served upon the defendant. Cannot be done pro se, must hire a lawyer if the government fails to proceed with the case. I tried this. I tried that. My 1983. Government intervention. The DOJ reviews the evidence and decides whether to intervene and take over the lawsuit. If they decline, the whistleblower has the right to pursue the case independently. The whistleblower, the relator, the private citizen. It's all you. If the lawsuit is successful and the government recovers the stolen funds, the relator is rewarded with a percentage, typically between 15 and 30% of the recovered amount. So if it's like millions of dollars, because I'm sure if they investigate your case, they're going to investigate other similarly situated cases. So, and I don't know how much a lawyer would take out of that. Would that be like a 30% off of the 25 or 30% you would get? I don't know. However, if you can find a lawyer that does this, the Justice Department has to look and see that there's fraud going on here. So it's not like pushed under the carpet. It's not kept under the in the dark. All right, so False Claims Act, the FCA, 31 USC statutes 3729 to 3733. Okay, so the FCA provides that any person who knowingly submits or causes to submit false claims to the government is liable for 3 times the government's damages, plus a penalty that is linked to inflation. FCA liability can arise in other situations, such as when someone knowingly uses a false record material to a false claim or improperly avoids an obligation to pay the government. Conspiring to commit any of these acts also is a violation of the FCA. So try and find fraud. They can't like lie, they can't falsify in order to put the children in foster care, keep them in foster care. And if they're doing that, and if judges are behind it, yeah, you may not be able to federally sue a judge, like for civil claims, but you can bring it to the attention of the DOJ. The DOJ can look into it. In addition to allowing the United States to pursue perpetrators of fraud on its own, the FCA allows private citizens to file suits on behalf of the government called Qui Tam suits against those who have defrauded the government. That's what DCF is doing. They're defrauding the government and all the taxpayers because we fund the government. Private citizens who successfully bring Qui Tam actions may receive a portion of the government's recovery. Many fraud section investigations and lawsuits arise from such Qui Tam actions, right? Investigations are brought apart. So if we want to shed a light, we all have to be in this together and we all have to claim fraud together. If they see just mine, they're gonna be like, she's just some crazy old lady. But if they see 10,000 of them, then they're gonna go, oh shit! Oh shit, I gotta do something. They can't hide it. They can't cover that up. 100,000. I mean, there's literally what 300 kids in any given year put in DCF custody. 300,000. I mean, Most of them aren't on the up and up. I can guarantee you that. This isn't DCF of days gone by, of past days gone by, or however you say that. The Department of Justice obtained more than 2.9 billion in settlements and judgments from civil cases involving fraud and false claims against the government in the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024. That's a lot of money. And if that's what like relators could have got a quarter of that. Sorry, excuse me. My nose is running. Relators could get a quarter of that. Under the civil FCA, no specific intent to defraud is required. No specific intent. The civil FCA defines knowing to include not only actual knowledge, but also instances in which the person acted in deliberate ignorance or reckless disregard of the truth or falsity of the information. Mind you, most of my sources are government sources from their government websites. Further, the civil FCA contains a whistleblower provision that allows a private individual to file a lawsuit on behalf of the United States and entitles that whistleblower to a percentage of any recoveries. Whistleblowers could be current or ex business partners, hospitals or office staff, patients, or competitors. Or, families involved in DCF, lawyers that know, lawyers know. And why they risk that $200,000 law degree is like baffling to me. They don't have a backbone. I mean, if you can't stand up and do what's right as a actors of the court, then you shouldn't be. You should be disbarred. Anyone want to say, yeah, I think so? I put it in my comments. All right. Also, anti-kickback statute 42 USC sections 1320A through 7B. B. 2B. The AKS is a criminal law that prohibits the knowing and willful payment of remuneration to induce or reward patient referrals or the generation of business involving any item or service payable to the federal health care programs. This includes anything of value and can take many forms besides cash, such as free rent, expensive hotel stays and meals, excessive compensation for medical directions, consultancies, blah, blah, blah. So, like, if you think there's like some kind of financial incentive, even a paycheck, that's a kickback, right? A job, getting a case, that's a kickback. All right, so I want to try and get you these documents. If you guys, if I can't post the link or the documents, you can message me and I'll try and get them to you. Or just do your own research. That's what I did. Qui Tam, Quitam, False Claims Act. It's all very informative, especially like the Department of Justice. Let's see. Department of Justice, Justice.Government, Archives, Criminal Resources Manual. Justice Government slash backslash front slash whatever. Civil False Claims Act. It's very easy to find out. Let's get it done, people. My goal, and I've never made this secret. My goal is I want to make the lawsuits more expensive to the state than they get. Now, can we find a way to, share those funds with families? Yeah, we can. We don't have, whatever multi-million dollar settlements that people end up getting or do get, you can set up trusts for families. I mean, that's what we should do. And we should set up lawyers who work through these trusts for families. We need more lawyers with a spine. Yeah, some do it for the greed. Some lawyers get it for the greed, but some of us need to do it for public interests. You can sit there and think, I'm not going to worry about it. This won't affect for generations down the road. No, it could really start affecting our children, our grandchildren. And it doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, because I've seen lawyers' kids be taken, even the ones that are, you know, the ones that won't say anything because they know you already know you don't have a backbone. All right, if you have any questions, put them in my comments. Um, I will come up with something to talk about. I'm sorry I went on a lot of rabbit trails, but I kind of had to because sometimes you have to like explain some backstory as to where you got here. Um, but yeah, so I will bring up different cases. I'll bring up different things that we can do. I really believe in suing DCF and the federal government if we have to, or sue for the federal government if we have to. Whatever we have to do, we have to stop letting we can't just sit there and say, "Oh, my child's gone. Nothing I can do about it." There is. We as a collective society can do some damn stuff about it. Really, we can. And we should, because these are our babies. They, so many of them are probably in such a bad, million times worse situation than they were at home with you. I'm not saying that anyone is in a bad situation, but I'm just saying, can you imagine those kids like praying like, uh, like, like a victim in Criminal Minds who's, they just find in the last minute, your kids want to come home. You know they do. And if you're a good parent, you deserve to have them home. And if you're a parent that would die for them and would give everything, every last penny, the shirt off your back for them, then they deserve to come home. And if you can't hire an attorney, you can research, you can go pro se. And you can come to my channel or other people like us who have tidbits to get you through and to get you out of the quagmire you're in. We all want to help. We all want children to be healthy. And I'm not saying every child's gonna um not be returned to bad families. And that's when families really need to stand up and say, no, you can't send them back to their mother because they'll be in harm. But you can send them to me. And I will make sure that mother will not harm this child. I will pick my grandchildren over my child. Sometimes we have to do that. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Um, if there's other things you want me to talk about, things you want me to research, I'm really excellent at research. I don't know if I can still get onto the Westlaw database. I'll try to. I might have been cut out of that. Um, but I will help you. But here's a really good thing. A lot of people probably didn't know about a Qui Tam, right? Most of you probably didn't know. I didn't know about it either until like a year and a half ago. And I tried putting that in my lawsuit, but got shut down because I'm not an attorney. I did contact and send everything to the DOJ. They didn't take it. My opinion, if the DOJ doesn't want it, they're throwing it away, right? They're throwing it away. Like garbage on the curb. Once garbage on the curb, that's not yours anymore, right? Isn't that what the police say? We can go through your garbage because once you put it out on the curb, it's not yours anymore. Well, if they're going to throw out these Qui Tam actions and they don't want to go through it because they're corrupt, then what are we going to do? We should be able to take it in a pro se matter. Oh, but you're not a lawyer representing the best interest of the government. Yeah, most of them are jokes, anyways, right? Some of us some pro se people are probably better. All right, I'm taking way too much time, like almost an hour here. You guys all have a good one. Have a great Sunday.